Cool. Evening, guys. Welcome to another nice Thursday evening. Tonight, luckily, you don't have me this week. You have someone who's a bit more professional, and I will, with a plum, hand over to Kathy.
Hi everybody.
Hi.
I'm going to take the obligatory break now while I share my screen. But we have practiced this, so
It does work.
in theory, this will work seamlessly. Do we see my slides?
Yes. Excellent.
Hurrah! Hurrah! Okay. So, yeah, my name's Cofi Rice-Oxley. I come out of Grantham and I'm a voice and confidence coach. Basically, I create confident communicators. So if you're a bit of an anxious speaker or if you just want to come across better, be clearer, be more memorable, my aim this evening is to give you some of the tools you need to fundamentally change the way you speak and show up in your business. So networking, sales calls, and possibly public speaking too. So I'm going to explain to you first how I came across these things and why I think they will have such a big impact on you. Myself, as someone who speaks up nowadays, speaks up and shows up confidently as themselves in public. So I'm a singer, and a little over 20 years ago, oh, it's not letting me. I knew it wouldn't let me do something, Rob. It's not letting me move. Hang on. No, it's not letting me move. Hang on.
If you just put the mouse back over the screen again,
Yeah.
okay, down the bottom left-hand corner, I saw a little left and right button.
Ah, there we are. Yay. Okay, so yeah, I'm a singer, and 20 years ago I was in London auditioning at open auditions in the West End, and these are the kind of auditions where you go down in the morning, big theatre, and you queue for hours. You might, start outside the theatre, you queue around the block, and then you wind up queuing down a long corridor, and there's like all the dancers doing the splits and everything, and people in big scarves warming up. And then eventually you get to walk onto a West End stage and you get to stand in a spotlight and you sing for a little panel of people who are usually out in the dark somewhere. And those people have the power to give you a role in a show that will change your life. And every audition I would go to, I would work really, really hard on my songs. I would work them to within an inch of their life, and I would psych myself up, and I would, really try and go in and do my best work. But unfortunately, my stress response had other ideas. And every one of these auditions I did, I just couldn't perform in the way I could in the rehearsal room because I would get so physically choked up with anxiety. So I thought, get a handle on this. And the first thing I tried was preparing better. So I would work the pieces even harder. I would practice and practice and practice. I would know these pieces inside out, back to front. I would practice singing for other people and stuff, but it made no difference because every time I got to the point of standing on that big stage with those consequences or potential opportunities, I would just tense up and I'd not be able to perform as I knew I could. So the second thing I tried was doing some relaxation techniques before I went in. Breathing exercises mainly. Being a singer, I got really good at being able to use breathing to slow my heart rate down and go onto the stage reasonably relaxed. But still, as soon as I started singing and maybe it wasn't coming out exactly the way I'd practiced it, I would feel that panic rising and the tension would come back and the performance just wasn't good enough. I did get a few callbacks, but I wasn't booking the work. And so the third thing I tried was nothing at all. I stopped trying. I concluded that I wasn't good enough. I went off and I trained actually as a teacher. You don't have to worry, it's not a sad story. I had a good teaching career. If I'd not moved away from London at that time, I wouldn't have met my husband, had my children, etc. So it worked out pretty well. Oh, I've forgotten to show you. This is a picture of me when I was auditioning. This is my youthful, these are my spotlight shots. And of course, you can't really see, but these are pasted into an album. This is a photograph of because of course in those days nothing was digital. This was the very early 2000s. Nothing was digital, so these are actual like printed copies, and you sort of ordered so many printed copies, and you take them around in your folder. So this is me, but yeah. This just didn't work out, and I thought I can't do this. If you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. So I stopped. As I say, it's not a sad story. I don't regret anything that happened. I think it's very hard to regret anything. Once you have your children, it's very hard to regret anything. The way it's turned out is always great. But when I left teaching in 2018, I decided I wanted to start singing again, I had something I wanted to share. I don't know if anyone sings here, but singing is it's something that you want. All of music or art is something that you want to share with other people. So I was determined to share it with people, to go more public with it. So I looked back on that experience and tried to learn from it. And actually, it was as easy as ABC. And I made 3 changes. First of all, I readjusted what I was aiming for. So I decided I would show up this time as myself. I would be me. I would stop trying to sound like anyone else or showing up like the person I thought they wanted to see, or basing my view of myself on how successful I was at this one thing of singing. And I decided I would focus on developing my voice, enjoying my performances, and entertaining other people, because I realized that previously I'd been thinking far too much about the external rewards that could potentially come if I did well. I was thinking about what do they think of me. So no more. This is going to be about me this time. That's going to be my aim. Secondly, I found physical and vocal balance by sorting out my stress response. And I learned that my thoughts and my emotions and my physical state, they're like a triangle. They can't be separated. They are one thing. So your thoughts influence your emotions, influence your physical state, influence your thoughts. It goes round and round and round. So I got control of my body and my brain for those high stakes moments. And then C, I realized that my performance needed to be about connection and not perfection. Connection with the audience in the room at that time. Because in these auditions, I'd just been trying to impress, not to serve that audience. And I've been trying to get the job rather than communicate the song. So that was the ABC that I worked on. And it worked, because now this is me. So I sing all over. I was out singing this afternoon, doing a bit of jazz and swing. I sing and I speak and I do workshops for audiences of all sizes, all different sort of contexts as well, outdoors, indoors, big audiences, care homes, museums, community groups, all different sorts of things that I do. So implementing this ABC, and it wasn't easy or straightforward. It took a lot of work, but implementing that ABC did change my life, from where I was in 2018 to now. So I'm going to explain to you some very practical things that you can apply. This ABC, the Aim, Balance, Connect, it can be, big overarching pieces of work. This is the kind of thing, I know that Rob knows about my program, The Real Speaker, that I run. And this is the kind of thing that I work with my clients on. That's a 6-month group program, which is leading to a real transformation, because, you can go really, really deep on all of these things. But they can also be, as an ABC, a really good prompt just before you go into networking, a meeting, sales call, presentation. So I'm going to teach you this framework, and hopefully you can sort of have it as a little prompt. And every time you speak or you go into an event or a meeting or something, you can remember this, and it will really help you. So first of all, the aim. You need to set the intention around who you want to be, not getting something remote, not on the stakes. You need to be yourself, your real self, your best self, the self that you like. I always like that Oscar Wilde quote, be yourself because everyone else is taken. So be yourself when you go out. Balance. So set your nervous system to what we call safe and social. So you'll know fight and flight, which is the stress response. We don't want that when we're talking to other people. We want to be in safe and social. And we get that with an open body, an open voice tone, open expressions, and open thoughts. And thirdly, connect. We focus on the audience. We focus on the interaction in the moment. We want to use our eyes and our face and our gestures and our voice tone intentionally to have that effect that we want. We want to listen and speak with other people, not at them. So we're going to look at some concrete things in each of these areas. The first one is aim. And this is to reframe your thoughts from fearful. You might not be fearful or anxious. You might be sort of low grade edgy. You might be someone a bit like me who, gets a bit tired of, like, too much peopling is really tiring. And it's because you go into things in a sort of, low stress state, into social and business occasions, and that's why they're tiring. So we can reframe our thoughts from things like I need to impress to I want to connect. From I'm taking up space to I'm adding value. From I'm not ready for this to I'm getting closer to being ready every time I try. If you're the kind of person that thinks, oh, if this goes wrong, it'll be an absolute disaster, you can reframe that as, if this doesn't go as planned, I will get to learn something. So what we want to do is catch the thought, choose a reframe, and pair it with a slow, low breath. So we're going to practice the slow, low breath first. So if you take in a breath through your nose, and as you breathe in, imagine you've got like hollow legs, and the air's going right down into the soles of your feet. And then when it comes out again, comes right back up. And again, to breathe in through your nose, all the way into the soles of your feet, and out again. Now, think of a thought that you commonly think when you're going into like a meeting or a presentation or something like that. Any sort of situation that makes you feel a bit uncomfortable. Try and think what the thought commonly is. So you might think, oh, I need to impress these people, or I'm taking up too much space here, or these people know more than me, or I'm not going to make this sale. Try and think what that thought is, and then choose a reframe for it. So try and think of the reframe at an identity sort of level. So it's not focused on external things, but about things to do with yourself. So, I will be approachable today. I'll be friendly today. I will learn something. It doesn't matter if this doesn't go right, because I'm going to learn something and apply it next time. Try and choose a positive reframe for yourself. So then the process is, when that thought crosses your mind, you sort of recognize that you're having that thought, and you catch it, and you breathe in, and you breathe out. Let that thought go. And then as you breathe in, you're going to breathe in the new thought, the reframe. So breathe in right to the floor, and let your sort of shoulders and chest expand, and fill your body and your brain with the new thought. And breathe out. So it's a really quick thing you can do, in the car before you go into a meeting, or, before you click join on the sales call or the meeting call or whatever. Catch the negative thoughts that you've got, reframe them, and pair them with a breath. Second one, reset your body and mind. Now, there's 1,000,001 of these. I've not got time to teach breathing today because it's a bit involved. If you want to take a picture of that is some free breathing resources. There's a couple of videos. One is me explaining, like teaching how to breathe using the diaphragm. And the other one is a little box breathing graphic video. It's 5 minutes, and it basically slows down your breath. So you just have to follow it, and it slows down your breath over the 5 minutes. So if anyone wants to learn about breathing, then by all means, take a shot of that. I'm sure Rob can send that out to you later as well. So I'm going to look at these ones. The first one is to shake out. And the reason for this is that if you are anxious, low grade stress, or fearful, our body, as you know, goes in sort of fight or flight mode, and the body basically focuses on getting as much oxygen in as possible, and as much oxygen delivered around the body as possible, so that we've got the energy to fight or run away from stuff. This is not overly helpful if we've, say, got a Zoom call, because we're not going to be able to move around very much, so we just get shaky inside, and sometimes we get shaky hands and things like that, which we don't really want, because it's going to stop us connecting. So literally shaking out. So if you just shake out one hand, and then shake out the other hand, and then if you were standing up, you could shake out one foot and then shake out the other foot, and just doing that in sequence. So if you're going into a physical meeting, and you're feeling quite edgy, you can just nip to the loo and just do some shaking out, and it's really, really effective. It just sort of shakes out some of the energy, so it allows you to calm down. The second one is an eye stretch. The eyes are really, really important with this stuff, because do you know when you get tunnel vision? So if you're really stressed or you have really bad news or something, people use this phrase, the walls are closing in. And it's to do with the fact that when we're under stress, our eyes like lock onto the threat in order to sort of, assess what we need to do about the threat. They lock onto the threat and they sort of stay very focused on the threat. So we get these sort of dark areas here. So basically the point of the eye work is to do the opposite of that. So just before we do that, I'm going to get you to just test the tension in your neck. So if you just turn your head and look over one shoulder as far as you can, just register what that feels like, and then turn your head and look over the other shoulder. That side's always harder for me. So you'll probably feel that one side is slightly harder than the other. Okay, so now if you look directly ahead and take a breath in through your nose. Now, as you breathe out, you're going to send just your eyes. So leave your head where it is. Breathe out and send just your eyes as far as you can, one way, like you're trying to look behind your ears. And take a breath in and out there. And really try and stretch your eyes so you're looking as far behind yourself as you can. And then breathe in and come back to the middle. And then on the out breath, you're going to send the eyes the other way as far as you can. So sort of trying to sort of look behind your ears. Really stretch your eyes and breathe in and out there. And then on the in breath, come back to the center. Okay, now if you turn your neck again, do we feel any slight easiness now? Does it feel slightly easier? Do we think, Rob? Does it feel slightly easier?
Yeah, a bit better. I can move further. As you get older, you can't move much anyway, Kathy. So this is more age.
Yeah, appreciate that. But if you think that that's literally just doing an eye movement has very slightly has released those muscles because we hold so much tension in our neck. So we send the message to the brain by holding the eyes. We're sending the message to the brain that we're not under threat, and that releases, because of the nervous system, that releases muscles in our neck. So that's a really good one to do. Not because you need to release muscles in your neck, but because that's just demonstrating for you the effect that very simple eye stretch has on your nervous system. So again, it's the kind of thing you can do just very quickly, 10 seconds each way with a nice slow breath. You can do that like just before you join a Zoom meeting, or if you're in a physical meeting, nip to the loo, do that, eye stretch, and come back. So these are all sort of ways to regulate our nervous system, which is going to mean that we're in a much sort of better place to connect with other people. The third one is a yawn and a sigh, and this is because we hold a lot of tension in our shoulders and around our necks. And you'll probably know, you might do this yourself, but if you've ever been talking to somebody and they talk sort of like this, so they're very tense. Sometimes if you hear people talking like this, it can be a sign that they're sort of heading for burnout, because there's so much tension in their throat when they're speaking. So they can not only damage their voices, but it's actually an indication that they're very, very stressed. So we don't want to speak like that. We want to have a nice sort of relaxed, open voice tone. A really good way to do this is to yawn, believe it or not. Yawns, of course, are an indication that we are relaxed. We're sleepy, we're safe. I mean, you don't yawn if you've got to run away from a lion, do you? I mean, we only yawn when we are relaxed. So what we're doing is we're kind of tricking the brain to say there's no threat here. We're super relaxed. So we're going to do a yawn. We're going to go into a sigh, and the reason for that is that your vocal folds in the larynx sit on what we call the vagus nerve, which is this big nerve which is the main nerve for the safe and social system. So you've got your fight and flight system, you've got your safe and social system, and this nerve that runs past the larynx is the good one, is the safe and social one. So we're going to do a yawn. You can cover your mouth if you want. We're going to do a yawn into a sigh. So it's going to be something like this. We're going to do a yawn. And then you're going to go, It doesn't have to be pretty. You're not singing or anything. And of course, you're all on mute. No one can hear you anyway. But what we're doing is we're doing the yawn. which opens the back, which lifts the soft palate and drops the tongue. So we're relaxing everything at the back of the throat. And then the is just giving the vocal folds a bit of a stretch. So can you try that? So you do a yawn. Do we feel nice, relaxed? Do it again. Do a nice yawn. Yawning is good. Sometimes when I teach breathing or I teach yawning or whatever, and people start yawning in the audience, they say, "I'm so sorry." And I'm like, "No, that's great. That's great. That means you are relaxed." So yawn and sigh, really good. It doesn't matter if it's a fake yawn. That's absolutely fine. Any sort of yawning you'll feel it if you sort of begin to notice it. 'Cause no one's ever noticed this when I say this. But what happens is that the soft palate at the back lifts and your tongue drops and you get this gap at the back of the throat, which you don't get normally. So that's a really good one. And finally, we're going to connect with the audience or with the single person we're talking to, or with the group of people that we're talking to, or anything like that. I'm always trying to convince people that we don't just have this when we are talking to people. We don't just have words. We've got eyes and eyebrows, we've got smiles, we've got cheekbones, we've got head tilts, we've got gestures, we've got movement, we've got posture. We've got so much to work with. And in fact, your communication when you're in a room with people, or even a talking head like this, but particularly when you're in a room with people, your communication has no off switch. You are always communicating. Whether you're speaking or listening or observing, if you think no one is looking at you, you are still communicating. If you're stood in the corner of the room not doing anything, you are still communicating, because you're the non-verbals of the body and the voice tone as well are incredibly powerful and are processed at a deeper level than words. Because in the brain, the words have to, get in through the auditory cortex and be processed and be sent to the speech centers and all this sort of stuff. Was a lot of the non-verbals are processed much quicker than that, instantly. And this is why we get gut feelings about people. This is why, when you meet someone, you just think, "I don't like you." And you've not got a particular reason. You just think, "I don't like you." And it happens incredibly quickly. And that's to do with the non-verbals. It's not necessarily the words that come out of their mouth. So obviously, there's a massive area, but a couple of things for you. One is to smile and lift your eyebrows when you start speaking. And my fringe is a bit long to demonstrate this. But for example, this is the difference between, so say I'm just coming off mute on a Zoom call and I'm like this and I say, "Yeah, thanks, Rob. No, brilliant. So we're going to do this and we're going to do that." As opposed to, I come off mute and I go like this. "Yeah, thanks, Rob. So we're going to..." So just, do you see that? Do you see the effect of just the brightening of the face? And I don't have to smile. Sometimes people are like, "I don't want to smile all the time, Cofi." It's like, you don't even have to smile. It's not in a smile. It's literally the movement of the eyebrows and the eyes. And you will find very much if you're doing in-person presentations as well, if you're in front of a group of people, like, don't ever take the mic and then just start talking. Take the mic, have a nice look around the room, give everyone a smile, and you give them this like indication that you're about to start. And the way you do that is this sort of brightening thing, and then people sort of automatically tune into it. Go on, give me a practice of that, folks. You're on the far corner of my screen. Give me a... Yes, Rob, yes. But you can see, can't you, if you look at my face, the difference between me talking like that and talking like this. Obviously, I'm exaggerating, but you can pull people in. If you feel like you're losing an audience, then go bigger with your face. Nodding, so particularly when you are listening to people, because this is a big area of nonverbal communication, is listening to people. We really like it when when people are listening to us, that we feel listened to. Obviously, Zoom doesn't help us. Zoom is a very difficult medium, but when you're in person with someone and they're talking to you, don't be sort of automatically thinking what you're going to say next, which most of us do. It's a very bad habit though, isn't it? So we should be, looking at them and really encouraging them to say more. And we can do that again with eyebrows, but also with sort of and little vocalics as well, little sort of I'm a northerner, so I say aha. You won't say aha. But any sort of wow, yeah, goodness, any sort of like little verbal cues to help them go on, and sort of nodding and moving your face and indicating that you're still in the conversation even though you're not the speaker. And the third one is, this one is really for if you are giving a talk. And this is, so I can't really demonstrate this because obviously you can't see me, but this is to have your palms open at sort of bent elbow height. And the reason for this is, we don't like it when we can't see people's hands. This is one of the reasons why Zoom is a really terrible medium for human communication, because we like to be able to see. I mean, this is why even when I'm on a call like this, I will go like this, because even the fact that you see these flashes of hands makes you feel better, rather than if you just sort of see talking head like this. And sometimes you get people that are really close, don't you? And you can literally just see their face, and we're not happy with that. We like to have more information about people than that. When we first started Zooming, like before COVID, we always used to be advised to sit right back so that people could see from your sort of belly button to your forehead, because it was much more natural. But of course now we're all used to this. We're all used to just seeing head and shoulders, but actually this is a very unnatural. When we're talking with people in real life, we see movement, don't we? And we see hands. So try, and even if it's just to show little flashes of fingertips, show them. And if you are in person, go on the stage and literally open your arms. As soon as you do that, everyone in the audience feels safe, because the palms open at elbow height is the international all-time symbol for look no tools, as in I'm a friend. So when you open your hands like that, when you walk on the stage, or you might have a mic, but you can do it with the other hand. When you do that, the audience's brains subconsciously are like, that's a friend. Whereas if you walk on with your hands in your pockets or your hands behind your back or something, then the audience's brains are like, don't have enough information about this yet. I'm not sure whether they're a friend or not. And again, it's not conscious, that it's their brains that are so deeply wired to read these signals. So that's why we always go on with our hands open. So next time you have any sort of speaking engagement, a Zoom call, a sales call, a networking event, if you're talking at something, have a quick think of the ABC. So you want your aim to be an identity level aim, not based on them, not what are they going to think of me, or what success am I going to have from this opportunity. It needs to be internal. So how you're going to feel at this event, or how you want to communicate with other people at the event. Because if your aim going into an event is, I'm going to be really friendly and approachable, and I'm going to try and make some nice new friends, have some great conversations here, you really can't lose at that event. If you go to a networking event thinking, right, I want 3 warm leads out of this, that might happen, it might not happen. But you're kind of setting yourself up for failure, and you're not focused on the right things. The second one is balance. So take some time to balance your brain and your body, particularly if you're an anxious kind of person. If you're an anxious kind of person, I've written a couple of LinkedIn articles that are accessible on my profile, or you can drop me a line or something, which are worth reading if you are anxious. But yeah, anything like just taking some deep breaths, doing an eye exercise, just sort of calming yourself before you start, so you're in that sort of safe and social space. And then the connect, remembering that you've got all of this to communicate with, not just your words. Your words are actually, they're an important part, but your words are only part of it. You're doing so much communication, so make that communication count. Use your face, look interested, smile, nod, use, look more movement. English people, we tend to be very reserved and very, very still, don't we? But actually, it's great when you're talking to someone who does talk with their hands and, has a nice animated face and stuff. So next time, think ABC, aim, balance, connect. Thank you very much. This is me. You might like to snap one of these. So there's my LinkedIn QR there, there's my website QR there, and there's also the QR on the left about my Real Speaker program, if anyone's interested in finding out more about that. So I hope to see you maybe on LinkedIn or something soon. Thank you, Rob.
That's fine. Thank you, Kathy. You do me a favor. If you send me over your links,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to put this onto YouTube, and I'll drop all the links onto that, and then I re-put that post into the group so that they've got it as well. Okay, you have
Okay.
to excuse. Everyone gets a little image made. Sorry, so the image you'll see is everyone gets a manga image. I like my manga, you see. So I well my if you've got all my images for my YouTube, I do that. Right, guys. Any questions?
I'll stop sharing.
One of the things I would say is it doesn't matter what business you do. I can see we've got Marcia there who's like she's selling her soaps, Honest doing the music, even Jane with the accounts. It's that when you talk to people, remember this guys, I've always told you people buy from people. Okay, so if you can be amenable and friendly, okay, when that person, remember, like Kathy says, when you go to these events or you talk to somebody, they may not buy that day. What your job is to get them to remember who you were. To give you a demonstration, I spoke to somebody at Silverstone one day. Hannah met them 8 months later, and Hannah said the first thing the guy did to Hannah was goes, high five VR. He went, where's Rob? First thing I asked Hannah, and she went, "Oh." And Hannah said to him, "I hope he wasn't rude." Like quite, but I'm like you, Kathy. I'm very animated. In fact, people tell me to be less animated, like put my hands down, but I just can't help myself. I can't not do what I do. And I know, and people like that. People talk to you. I mean, if you look at college or school, you remember your favorite teachers because they were fun. The rest of them are boring. That's why I don't remember them. There's always the fun ones you remember, and that's the key, and it is that. So whether we're doing sales, whether we're doing speaking, when we go out, we always need to make sure we do all these things. The eyebrows one, I must admit, I'd never thought of that one before. I think it's when we were children. You remember, we used to go. I was My problem was back to front. You see, Kathy. I have all sorts of strange things in my head. One of my problems used to be was I didn't know I did it. If I got bored, I would walk off mid conversation, and my wife
Okay.
would go to me, "You know, you're being rude." I go, "What have I done now?" I didn't know I was doing it. I had to learn to stay interested. If that makes sense. So I was told by my wife, at least she goes, at least nod and smile. And don't yawn, literally yawn when they're mid conversation when they're talking to you. So and it makes a huge difference. People will tell you all sorts of things if they like you. You'll find out what they want, what they like, and if you want to do business with them, the more you know, the better it is. So yeah, definitely. With that one, um,
Yeah, I'm happy
I
to
would
take
say,
some questions if anyone has any.
yeah. Apart from myself, anyone else have any questions on how to make themselves more animated or more of themselves?
Do you have any techniques of how to, because I'm teaching and I see that you are teaching too. I think you're a singer as well.
Yep.
So you probably understand the frustrations we get sometimes with our students. Is there any exercise which I can apply instantly just to calm down the frustration?
Yeah, sorry, you were a bit doubled up on my
Well, for some reason, I've noticed
audio.
this. We're all getting I don't know what's happening, but we're all getting an echo, and I don't know where it's no one here. It's the system. It's we've got a bug in the system, I think, Kathy. So we have to try and work around the
Oh,
double bit.
okay. Was it like that all the way through?
No, you're crystal
Oh,
clear. It's when
oh,
we speak, we're getting feedback.
I can hear you clear.
Yeah,
oh, okay.
you're clear, Kathy. But when I speak,
Good.
I myself, when
Yeah,
I was trying to speak, she was also doing. I could hear her twice as well. So it's only the rest of us, not you.
It was weird.
I
And
can
I
hear
think
you
the
well,
question
Rob.
was the question about what to do with students.
No, so when you get frustrated, you have moments when the frustration is a bit of a higher level. And do you have any tips about how to kind of like keep it under control and to kind of not to let it be seen so easy and much?
Two biggest tips for that. Oh, I can hear myself double as well now. Is there's something called a psychological sigh, and this comes from when someone's been crying and they're calming down, but they're talking, and every so often you hear this thing and they go,
Mhm. Yes.
And what we're doing is we're basically imitating that, because that's part of the brain. That's part of the brain, calming down after an emotional sort of peak.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody does it. It's involuntary when people have been
It's the
crying.
quick
So,
and the slow.
yeah, exactly. So what we do, and the sigh, we all sigh apparently like many times an hour, but we don't really know we're doing it. But it's part of the body sort of regulating itself. So the way to imitate that is what we call a psychological sigh, which is where you breathe in fully, but at the top you take another breath. So it's like a double intake of breath. And this is one that they teach actually to like special forces and stuff, because it's so quick. So if something happens, and you think, Christ alive, what am I going to do about this? It's a really quick. So before you like say or do anything, go, and it just, if you do it now, you'll feel it. So breathe in fully. Do you sort of feel that? You sort of feel like a bit of
Yeah, like a veil.
tingling or something. It's like, yeah. So that's a really quick one. And also just to take a pause, because it sounds too simple, but in fact, if you react immediately, it's something to do with the way that the information travels through our brains. If you react immediately, it's gone to sort of two centers in the brain. If you just take a second or 2 seconds, it's got time to go like all over the brain and like, sort itself out, and then you speak. So, pause before you speak. Didn't our mothers always tell us, pause before you speak? But actually, it's like, it is true. It literally allows things to fly more through the brain. So those are probably the quickest ones. And the shaking out, shaking out. But obviously, yeah, it's yeah. Try the psychological side. That's
Yeah, it can be very challenging at times. So
yeah, with students, it can be very, yeah. I mean, there's also a thing about like escalating and de-escalating situations. So if somebody is in a very heightened state and their voice tone is very tense, or they're shouting, or they're very sort of scattergun in the way that they speak, if you bring it right down and you say something like, I want to listen to what you're saying, but I can't hear you when you're speaking at that speed, or something like that, where the words, rather than saying, I can't hear you, talking too fast, if you literally, like drop your own voice and drop your own pace, like become a lot more measured yourself. And if you join all the words together in like a sing-songy way, so, why don't we go over into the library? Why don't we talk about this together? And just doing that, like, it sort of de-escalates, because their brain processes that as sort of comforting, and so they calm down. That's worth trying.
okay, thank you.
It's okay.
I shall remember that. Thank you.
Yeah, don't match them. If you operate your energy, and they will dampen to match your energy. You don't want to go up to their energy, because then you just go, and it just all goes up, doesn't it?
Yeah. I guess I'm the one going a bit more hyper because of the frustration.
Oh,
Yeah, and I don't want to. That's the thing. So just try. It's just difficult sometimes. Yeah. Thank you.
that's okay. Oh, you're on mute, Rob.
So excuse me. Thanks for that. We'll get there with that one as well. So yeah, so that's excellent. I must admit that'd be a good recording to watch back, especially the exercises. So I think a lot of us don't. I think what happens to the intensive, especially in the UK schooling, a lot of this is taken out of us, isn't it? Put your hands down. Don't be so. And it is, and lots of what we should be doing, it's taught out of us. So you don't really want to do it because you look odd, you might feel odd, as well. But no, so that's good. Okay, with that one. Right, guys, a big thank you for coming on tonight. Okay, a big thank you for Kathy. That was brilliant. I shall be loading up. Give me about an hour to render this video on my machine, and then I'll load it onto YouTube. I mean, people can rewatch it and go through it. And if you want, guys, I just noticed today there are quite a lot of videos I've now recorded on my channel. So nearly anything you could possibly want, from cafes helping us to breathe, all the way down to YouTube videos and stuff. It's all on there. So there's most of the things you need, and it's growing. Okay, and it's growing content. The only thing I will say is my normal weekly moan is we need to be helping each other more with sharing each other's posts. Okay, guys. Individually we're small, together we're bigger. Remember that. Okay, so it's all about, if you go on in someone's post, just see a post, just like it. Not much. If it's just a like, doesn't matter what it is. Okay, that's how we grow. And that's how we all grow together. Okay, and if you need something, I'm sure there's always someone in the group that can do it for you. So don't go too far before you ask internally. Okay, right, guys. Everyone have a nice weekend. Okay, if you've got children, it's Easter. Good luck.
Yeah.
And I said that mine's 20, mine's coming home from college. So I've got no hair. Can you have less hair than no hair? Is that possible? So I should do that. Okay. And yes, listen, everyone a great weekend. Okay. And same time next week.
Thank you so
All right,
much.
guys.
Thank you,
Cheers
Carla.
then.
Bye.
Bye.